All right, the S&P 500 and the Nasdaq 100, we start with the SPY. And again, SPY really just sitting in the top of our range above 580 for a bulk of the day. Here in the after hours, you can see we're getting a little bit of a decline, slowly grinding back down. Now, in order to get bearish, in order to really be looking for some of that downside here, a few things that you want to see. So let's be very clear. Now, overall, above 577.5 to 578.5. This has been a pretty nice little support. You start breaking below 577, you work your way down to 575, 574. Under 574, I think you could be in trouble coming back down into previous all-time highs established back there in June and July, right? So that's the big level you're going to be watching. So if we start breaking below 575, big caution sign, if you will, okay? Now the NASDAQ, and again, this is where we've seen a lot of the love and we've really seen some more of the momentum over the past few days, right? This is the NASDAQ on the 15-minute. We'll zoom out to around the 2 hours so you can see really quick, right? The NASDAQ, between yesterday and early today, you tried to get your big all-time high breakout. We tried. You pushed up, really nice. And I believe you probably would have got an all-time high push out on QQQ. We'll go into that here in a second because you were making higher highs. I mean, you can clearly see, higher high, higher high, higher high, higher high. You're making higher highs, okay? The thing that's negative in here now is what's happening with SMCI and a few of the semiconductors. But I will still say, all things considered, even with earnings from Meta and Microsoft today, you are making your higher lows. I mean, it's clear as day. You're still making your higher lows here. It's not too concerning in my opinion, right? Now, again, we start breaking back below and holding below the bottom of this range of 20,300. You look bad. The other part of this too is you go to something like the 4-hour chart here. I mean, you're trying to really hold out of that range, right? The range starts at 20,500. You're holding out of that right now. So that's a good thing to see. Now, again, it's the same thing that we break back into this. I start to anticipate we start to chop back down to 20,300. So again, keep your head on a swivel. Be watching that. It's what I've been really paying attention to. Now, yesterday I was honest, I'll be totally honest. I was very confident about the push into all-time highs. You ended at like 501 in the after hours. I think you were I think you hit the 502, 503 in the after hours. And then this morning, obviously, you kind of top out and pull back. Well, that comes on the back of SMCI and AMD. Now, yesterday, AMD reported not the greatest earnings, but still, NVDA was holding up, and tech stocks looked really good, like Google, a few other, Microsoft, Meta, prior to their earnings day, looked really good. But SMCI comes out, and again, we've talked a lot about SMCI being a fraudulent company. I feel like I've really hammered this one home. Well, today was kind of like Judgment Day, okay? In a resignation letter, this is their accounting firm, right? Ernst Young, okay? In a resignation letter, EY said, Ernst Young, we are resigning due to the information that has recently come to our attention, which has led us to no longer be able to rely on the management's and the audit committee's representations and to be unwilling to be associated with the financial statements prepared by management. And after concluding, we can no longer provide the audit services in accordance with applicable law or professional obligations. Yeah, this is crazy. They quit while conducting the audit of SMCI's fiscal year that ended on June 30th of this year. In Wednesday's 8K SEC filing, SMCI said in a statement it disagrees with EY's decision and is working diligently to select new auditors. Yeah, if you ask me, something appears to be wrong with their numbers. Yeah, not good. Okay, so again, we'll see. They're saying, hey guys, we're gonna fix this. We're gonna get a new auditing. So we'll maybe they can find someone to replace that. But that's dragging down the rest of SMH on top of AMD's lackluster earnings. Now, did AMD miss earnings terribly? No, I don't believe they did. Their revenue was a beat. EPS slightly down, barely missed there. Now, what is my opinion on this? Let's be very, very clear. There's one sector in the market, and I've seen you guys comment this, right? In order for continuation on the market, you have to have perfect earnings on these tech names. And I think there's some merit to that statement, but I think it's really pertaining more towards semiconductors. Why? Now, AMD, if you look at it, it hasn't moved like NVIDIA, obviously. It has a good breakup, don't get me wrong. Like, you're trying to hold 2021 highs around that area, but like you're still below, right? NVIDIA's on a moonshot, SMCI, hit a moonshot, like all these other AVGO, ASML, these other names, they all went crazy. But the story is this, is that expectations are so high. And AMD, we talked about them lowering their margins, right? And if you look at NVIDIA, their margins are incredible, like over 70%. AMD, like even though they missed by 0.2% of their margin from 50.2 to like to 50.16, I think is what their margin is, something crazy like that. But again, they still drop like this. And I think this is a sector where things have to be perfect. I think AMD, what they announced at the earnings was good. I think long-term longevity was good. I think they will work out of this and they're going to have good partnerships, but they're not the same as NVIDIA. Important to understand that. NVIDIA, yeah, you're dipping, but are you really dipping? Like are you really? You're at 139 right now. As long as you hold above 136, 133, you look amazing here, right? The pennant, we talked about buying this at $100, the best stock you'd buy all year. Yeah, like this is what you're working with up here. So you need to understand this. And NVIDIA is just getting better and better. Their margins are going to get more and more incredible as well as the Blackwell chip rolls out and they reach full, supply and demand, supply for their demand issues right now. So again, that's the main thing holding us back. You look at SMH, again, I'm watching this closely because I think tonight was really big with Meta and Microsoft. I'll go into the earnings in a second, but SMH is making higher lows back since 9/11, 9/10, right? You're trying to hold up there. If this starts to break down, I am targeting at least 237, maybe the 200 SMA there on SMH, the semiconductor ETF. Why is it so important? Because in my opinion, personally, I think you are kind of following that chart. If we look at the Nasdaq, since SMH bottomed, the Nasdaq has made higher lows since the 10th, 11th of September. Straight up higher highs as well. Nasdaq's outperformed it a little bit, if you will, but in my opinion, it still looks very good, and it looks shockingly similar. If SMH and semis roll over, I think the Nasdaq could roll over. Now, does that mean that we dump and tank to oblivion? No, I don't think we tank to oblivion. You still have the election coming up next week. But again, I think it's very, very important. It's also worth mentioning November 5th, which I believe, looking at the calendar right now, that is next Tuesday is election day. So make sure you're paying close attention to that. That's going to be pretty wild. I'm honest to God, hoping for a dip going into the election. Praying to God we get a dip, right? Going into December, January, those are expected to be very hot months. So going into SMH, I'm watching it closely. Now, a little bit better view, we look at something like Microsoft. We said this week our favorite earnings, right? There were two of them for myself personally. Number one was Microsoft. Number one was Google. Number two was Microsoft. And I like Reddit a lot. But you're trying to hold around 430, 432. Its earnings weren't bad. They weren't bad at all. You're kind of just being brought down by the rest of these other names, like Coinbase, MicroStrategy, those names coming out. Meta slightly down, slight miss there as well, right? I think they beat on revenue. Yeah, slightly beat on revenue, slightly beat on EPS. But again, just, this is one of those names that needs to be priced to perfection. Why? Because you're at all-time highs, $600. Look at the run on Meta. The names that have moved like this, yes, they need to be priced into perfection. Names like Microsoft, Google, I don't think so. I don't think they have to be priced to perfection, right? But again, you're kind of coming back down here to 570. I still think you look good on Meta. If you start breaking below 562, we're looking for the shorts there. And this is actually probably one of the top trades. I'm telling you right now, if you are listening to this video, if you break below 561.65, this little bottom here, yeah, I'm banking big. You come down to 544, probably even lower. This is the textbook definition of a double top, break the neckline, break or retest continuation. Beautiful action there. Also, too, guys, before I go any further, too, I want to make sure if you're not following on Twitter, you do so. Again, you'll get all the updates, the charts, what I'm looking at, everything in between like that. Again, the occasional meme. Also, too, there'll be a few spots available for Discord. I'll have those posted. No, we're not. We're not doing that. We're going to open a few spots. I don't know. We might do like 5 to 6. I'll let you guys know tonight, but it'll be available either on the link down below here or on our Twitter. So make sure you check it out. But again, free content is all day coming in over there. Stocks we're liking, stocks we're looking at, everything like that with earnings, etc. But again, going in here, Meta, probably one of my top trades tomorrow if sellers keep stepping in. And again, you're setting yourself up for good opportunities broad in the market. Google, still love it as well. I wanted to see us hold 175. I will take a retest of 168.5 as well. But again, the inverse head and shoulder is beautiful. Just didn't trade it because earnings right there. Now, quickly identifying our levels on SPY before we go back into equities and what we're looking at there, okay? Let's be very clear with what we're looking at. If you're looking for sell side pressure, okay, you're looking for a break of 575, 574.6. You break below this, and I think you could start selling to the bottom of this range near 565. personal opinion. Now, the other important thing here, before you start jumping the gun and going YOLO into shorts or anything like that, you still have big earnings tomorrow in the after hours. Amazon, Apple, Intel. I think Intel is going to be pretty important for semiconductors as well, even though I don't like them. Okay. But Amazon and Apple, I think Apple is concerning, to say the very least. We'll see about their expectations with their chips and what's happening there. But again, I personally believe tomorrow, if we're going to see downside, I don't think we see below 575. That would just be unlikely, in my opinion. What I would be looking for is a break and retest of 577.5, 578, and a push back into the support down here near 574.5, 575. Maybe, just maybe, you come down to this little level here too, around 573. But overall, I'd be looking for this level to hold up as a support going into Amazon and Apple earnings. Okay, that's if we get some more selling coming in the market tomorrow. Okay, I would be looking at Meta as one of my favorite trades to the downside. You're very illiquid under 561. I will tell you that right now. Probably one of the better setups here. There's no liquidity, like I mentioned, when you break below this. So you're watching that very close. QQQ, Nasdaq. You already have my Nasdaq levels, but QQQ. If you start breaking back below, again, I'd bring this up, about right here, about 493. Below 493, I think you get a little volatile. You can start breaking down towards 489, 490, possibly 487. Again, not a lot of levels in here. Our illiquid zone we've talked so much about, right here. So you want to hold 493. Below that, I could see sellers stepping in aggressively down to 488, 487. I'd be watching that very closely. Those are my top names into tomorrow for myself. Now, upside names, if we get any type of buying, I like Google. What do I like about Google? If Google can hold around 174.7, 175, what you would like to see is continuation off this level, right? So getting back above and then pushing back up, right? Flip that like that, right? What do you be looking for? If you get below this, I'm looking for it to come down to 169, 170, start filling that gap. I think it's a good longer term name, but I don't want to be aggressive right now. Okay, what we're looking at there. Coinbase, MicroStrategy, these names. You saw their earnings come out, they're dipping. MicroStrategy, again, as long as Bitcoin looks good, MicroStrategy looks good. All they're doing is devaluing the stock and buying more Bitcoin. It's kind of beautiful, like, to be honest, when it comes to crypto names. I'm looking for a hold of 231 to 222 points, or 227. You hold those levels, you look fine. Below 227.25, I could see us coming down into 219.8 and then 200 potentially. So a lot of selling could happen there quickly. Not a lot of liquidity there either. I'd be paying attention. You also have a little level at 213. I'd be watching that, but I'd be looking for this to start bouncing as well, because Bitcoin, all in all, looks pretty incredible. As long as Bitcoin looks incredible, I think MicroStrategy looks incredible. I mean, this is still textbook, the best bump and run I've seen. Break, retest, continue. I mean, it's literally beautiful. So Bitcoin stocks still look really good. Going into the dollar, again, we talked about this yesterday. You're kind of flatlining up here at highs. On the little bit of the downtrend that you had, right? Kind of coming down there. And you get back below the 200 SMA. We go into the 10-year yield. What's happening here? You're sitting at the downtrend. You're getting rejected so far. Not really getting rejected, just sitting at that level. Going to the 30-year yield. Okay? Again, sitting in the downtrend right now. You need to see what's going to happen. Get below 200 SMA potentially. We'll see what happens going forward there as well. Those are major risk-off indicators. So that's the only worrisome thing right now ahead of the election. We'll see what takes place. Okay? That's the biggest things that we're looking at right now as far as the market goes, and we're all concerned. Now, there's a few other names out there we can look at. I just don't want to overhype and spend too much time focusing on these things. I still think SMCI is absolute hot garbage. I'm going to tell you right now. If you start really breaking below $32, 31.8 roughly, I mean, I'm looking for the 200 SMA down here. Don't YOLO into this, but looks interesting, looks good. Terrible stock. I've been trying to tell everyone, but do what you gotta do. I'm watching Micron as well, higher time frames. If it starts breaking back below 103, I'm looking for a push onto 99, then a gap fill, downside opportunity. You get back above 111. I like the upside. It's one of my favorite longer term names over here as well. Again, though, but just letting these trades set up, letting them kind of function the way they are right now. As far as healthcare goes, Eli Lilly reported earnings. You gap down. You remounted your 200 SMA. Pretty nice little setup here as well. A few things I'd be looking for. You kind of rejected right off that previous low. If you're able to reclaim a 860, 859, I'm looking for a push back into 882. That's what I'd be looking for there. Okay. Be very, very clear. You have a little bit of a level here as well near 870. So that's why I'd be looking for target 1, then target 2. It has been a good mover. Keep them on your watch list. Those are my favorite names. If you have questions, comment down below. Have a video coming out tomorrow. Have a good one, trader.